So Mukesh, I thought perhaps we can start. I know I've heard you speak very passionately about just India's potential. And especially since we were having the conversation about what can the next 10 years represent. Maybe you can share, like you've talked about like how Indian economy will grow and how digital will be a big part of it. Maybe share your thoughts on how you see perhaps this economy thrive in the next 10 years.
Absolutely. Before I answer that, Satya, on behalf of all of us, a very warm welcome to India and Mumbai. And I can tell you that I wanted to warmly congratulate you on your leadership and the transformation and the success of Microsoft over the last many years. And I think every Indian is very, very proud. What I admire about and what I learn in terms of saying that if in your leadership style, what you've demonstrated that if you have empathy, if you rely on partnerships and build trusts and relationships, and if you think about every mistake as a learning opportunity, and if you believe that it's not products or profit, but really people and their continuous reinvention of capability, that's the strength of the organization. I think all of us in India Inc. are inspired, and thank you for all your leadership. Personally, I am very committed, and I'm very privileged, Satya, that you have committed to India on a scale that I never anticipated that a multinational will. And we are very excited about the partnership that Jio and Microsoft will have. And I think that that will be, as we look at this decade, will be a defining partnership. So Thank you for your commitment to India.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Now, let me answer your question. I think that, as we are speaking, President Trump has arrived in Ahmedabad, and the India that he will see in 2020 is very different from the India that either President Carter saw or Clinton saw when he came in 2020, or even Obama, right? We are having millions of people on the street, each one of them having their own personal experience with their phones, and the network strong enough. And I think I can easily say that the mobile networks in India now are better or at par with anybody else in the world. And that's the big change. When he reaches the stadium, right, and you talked about stadium, the infrastructure in that stadium in terms of digital is better than any other place in the world. So that is the India as we start in 2020. If you then even think about your own journey and think about 1992 when you joined Microsoft, right? India was $300 billion. Today, India is $3 trillion. And fundamentally, right, this whole progress, right, in a certain way has happened on the back of technology. In the early days, it was Rajesh's TCS, Infosys, and all of them who drove technology in India. And that really kick-started with all the economic reforms, kick-started this whole growth paradigm. It was supercharged in 2014 when Prime Minister gave us the vision of Digital India. And if you then see what followed, and I was again privileged to play a very small role in it in terms of with the launch of Jio. And just to share with you and the audience, pre-Geo, right, we had 256 kbps, which we called broadband in India. And post-Geo, we now have 21 Mbps on mobile data as the average speed available in every single village in India.
That's amazing.
Pre-Geo, price of data in this country was between 300 and 500 rupees. And for the poorest of poor, right, who used 2G, the price was as high as 10,000 rupees a GB. Post-Geo, the price is between 12 and 14 rupees a GB. And the usage, right, and a lot of like what Geo has achieved in the last 3 years is 38 crore people, 380 million customers have migrated to this 4G technology. And that tells you the enthusiasm in the youth of India, the enthusiasm in consumption in India, and the enthusiasm even in my mother, who's 85 years old, and the amount of time she spends, right? So in your language, she has the greatest tech intensity and tech adoption. So I think that's really what has happened. So consumption has also gone up, and this has really become a people's movement. And when you then talk about the financial sector, right, we just introduced UPI, and with digitization in December, right, we had 100% growth, and total UPI transactions in this country digitally were 2 lakh crores. So what has happened is that because we've got infrastructure, right, we are accelerating, and we are just at the beginning of this whole journey.
And that's one of the things, Mukesh, I was going to ask you, because in some sense, all of what you've done in laying out the network capability, you talked about what that has led to, this, people being empowered, consuming more, using more, and you have the best rates and connectivity today. Now, you also have an ambition to say, what can you do for small businesses, medium businesses, large, because you're now even saying, okay, how do we, in fact, our partnership in some sense is about how do you take what I talked about, combine it with your domain expertise, your technology, and completely change even the landscape of broad sectoral change.
So let me, again, Satya, start with saying that Reliance was founded as a startup, even before startups became, like my father founded Reliance with a table and a chair and 1,000 rupees. It was 5 decades ago. It then became a micro industry, then it became a small industry, medium. Today, you can consider us large. Right? I have been, again, very fortunate in terms of knowing Steve and Bill from my Stanford days. So it was even before Microsoft was founded. Steve was being recruited by Bill.
Yeah, that's right.
And I've seen the growth of Microsoft since
There must have been something in the air that both of you dropped out.
And why I'm saying this is fundamentally to just drive the point that every small business and entrepreneur, right, has the potential